Hello YouTube, this is HunterSerge, and welcome to my next attempt at failing to keep something weekly. That's why weekly isn't in the name this time, so that you can't laugh at me when it inevitably happens, probably. This is the BuddySpoiler Podcast, which will be going up every Sunday. Basically, very similar in spirit to the old Yodelers podcast, streams, talk thing. With me today, I have the Night Shadow.
Yo.
And Matt Ortiz Belcher.
Hello.
And today we are going to be talking about recent things, recent going-ons in the world of the buddy fight. And we had a pretty big announcement just earlier today, so that's going to be exciting to talk about. So we've got the things we're going to be talking about this week are going to be the full set list drop for Driven to Disorder. We've each selected some cards, as well as Chang, who was supposed to be on the podcast, but unfortunately, life things happened. We're going to be covering the cards that he wanted to talk about anyways. We're going to talk about the World Finals that happened. Matt here was a spectator at World Finals, so we have the opinions of a person who was actually there. Wow. And thanks to Can You Say G, we have the World Finals champion deck list, so we can talk about that. And then some other small things. Obstruct coming to English as the February tournament promo. The additional secrets in the English version of Driven to Disorder. And the info we've gotten on the first set of X2, which includes all worlds being in at least the first main set of X2, and the set size dropping by a whopping 30 cards from the usual average of about 105 cards. So that's going to be all of it. So we're going to start off with the cards we've selected from Driven to Disorder. So starting off, we'll have my first pick, Overturned Demon Lord Asmodai. Yeah, this is one of the cards that's been actually converted to secret for the English release. And I've been doing a lot of pillars testing since around when Rusifil dropped, and this card is incredible. Its Overturn is incredibly versatile. And its on-entry ability for all your 72 Pillars and Thunder Empire monsters is an amazing control ability that, as we've gotten more cards revealed, is now able to be used on your opponent's turn too. There's all kinds of combos you can do with this. Bren, you've also been doing a bunch of testing with Pillars too, right?
Yeah, though I don't know if I want to give away all the secrets about the deck. Oh man. If the ability to give effectively Demon Lord, the Deathmodai stats to monster seems really underwhelming, you might want to check the timing of Overturn and Overkill just to see what exactly you can do with it. So boy.
Well, beyond just that, it's just even if the timing things didn't come into play, it's still an incredibly versatile Overturn. Especially with Rusifil being a card that exists now.
Well, yeah.
And if you have yourself set up right, you can even use that to completely wall out a turn from even Thunder Empire and Chaos with their high powers, thanks to cards like Fake Out to let you block specifically the big power guys.
Yeah. And honestly, Magical Glue is still a thing.
I can't really see myself running Magical Glue, though.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's so dead in the Chaos matchup.
Yeah. Well, not anymore, because they're playing Auto Deity, because that's slightly stronger. So, they'll have the item that you can bounce.
Yeah, I suppose. But that's only one damage that you're stopping.
Well, you're also stopping the card draw.
They're probably not going to be waiting until attack phase to do that. And if you do it in the main phase, they can just re-equip. Moving on from there, we have your first pick, Bren.
Ultimate Great Spell World Pandemic. I specifically chose this card because one, you took 4 of mine, but But no. The main reason I wanted to touch on this is because there's been a lot of confusion about this card and about what it can do, what it can't do.
Listen, I'm not confused. I've been waiting 4 years for my flag rolling knowledge to become relevant. I've been ready.
When this card is used, the opponent can only use cards that are Omnilord and permit being used with all flags, or specifically a specific one. So Chaos Upgrade works, the Omnilord Emblem works, all the Omnilords work, that Impact for Omnilords work, but nothing else does. So no, generic does not work. No, you don't get to keep the cards in your hand and still get to use them. The Seize is kind of an inconsistent deck when put into practice, but in theory it looks really cool, and I think that's
Plague. The deck is called Plague.
Well, okay, sorry, Plague in English. Yes, it seems really, really cool just to look at, even if it isn't really that good or consistent or anything like that. So I think it's a nice callback to the old ways of designing archetypes back in 100. So I like it for that reason.
I'm personally not the biggest fan of Plague as an archetype specifically because of this card, because I was actually, like, when a Bullet was the only card revealed, I was really excited for the deck because, like, the idea of this deck revolving around these stat debuffs, it was really cool and had the potential to be really strong if they got crit debuffs as well. And I really liked how it seemed that there was going to be this dichotomy between giving a bullet more soul or the item more soul, but the deck has just been built around being this stall deck to get out World Pandemic, and that's what everything is in service of, and I'm not terribly fond of that.
I disagree, and that's because of Bergamar. Bergamar relies on cards in its soul as well. So, and because getting out World Pandemic is such a really, shall we say, inconsistent thing, Bergamar is a potential card to build around. Because
but Bergamar is also a very low rarity card, and it's obviously not the focus.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is that we can see more cards like Bergamar in the future. And that's what excites me about it.
I'm just not fond of Pandemic being a card that exists. Because there's so much cooler design directions that the deck could go, but now they have, with everything they do, they have to be careful not to make Pandemic too consistent.
I don't think that's going to be a problem because they made it really interactive. Putting cards into the soul of an item, and maybe you can't get rid of the soul via soul removal, but you can still destroy the item. You can still bounce the item. So,
most of the time you can still get rid of it, unless they're on a honestly, the soul protection effect on latent infection really isn't very good against most soul removal in the current game.
Yeah. And then on top of that, even if you do pull off all the hoops required to get to the World Pandemic, you still have to worry about it getting spell nulled by 6 different worlds.
Yeah.
Because of that, I think what they need to look out for is they need to make sure they don't have a way to turbo into it. It can be consistent, you get it over maybe 5 or so turns or 6 turns or whatever. But if they somehow, for some reason, make it so that you can do it a few turns shorter, that gives your opponent less time to draw their outs, less time to draw their spell nulls, their soul removals, their destroys. So that's what they really need to be looking out for.
That aspect is exactly the part that I dislike about it, because they do have a card that excels a lot, but it's completely RNG based.
Yeah,
which is why they had to make it the RNG.
Incubation period. You look at top 2, add up to 2 plague spells from those into soul.
Yeah, I really dislike that card's design. Ooh. Not a fan.
The way that I see it is that because something like this exists, the people will try out for the inconsistency because of the potential reward. So at the very least, we know that there will be players playing this just because they want to try for that super cool win condition type thing.
I'm also kind of worried about its effect on more casual players, because a bunch of casual decks won't be prepared to deal with this. And considering that World Pandemic is going to turn out to be more of a casual thing, that's where it's more likely to be relevant in casual play. So
You say casual,
and I don't think
casuals of like not including that many secrets. This is almost like an all triple R and secret deck.
Fair enough.
That.
Fair enough. I don't know. I'm glad for my flag knowledge to finally be relevant, but I'm just not a fan of this design. I'm not a fan of WinCon design like this. No, that's just my take.
This is something that was created before Kidani stepped down, so.
Yeah. Oh well. Alright, now we have one of Chang's picks. Do you want to take this one, Bren?
Just mentioning what it does? Okay, sure. So have it translated here as Forbidden Savage form. This is the impact for Levitane. You may only cast this if you have no monsters. Pay 3 gauge, equip up to 1 hero item from your deck without paying its equip cost, and shuffle your deck. Then you get another attack phase. This is basically designed to be the counter to Phase Seal Chain and Great Spell Waterstat. It lets you attack with the rest of your cards that you didn't get to attack with, and there's not really much your opponent can do besides nullifying the impact or just doing another Phase Seal Chain or Great Spell Waterstat.
Yeah, and it gives you a third method of bringing out what can be best described as your god weapons, which would be your 2 Excaliburs and Trishula.
At the very least, at the very, very worst, you can use this to find the Levitate if you missed it in your opening.
Yeah. It also gives you an alternative search, which is also really good. But your primary use of it is going to be your third method of getting out those weapons by ignoring their costs. And that's really going to be what Leva is going to shift its focus to going into this set, because they have 3 of those weapons now. They have Chosen One, they have this, and Leve's Overkill. So you have a lot of ways to cheat these weapons out, and you can pretty easily get a pretty big board full of them out these days. And
I disagree.
It is really threatening.
One, but that's another topic for another time.
As a side note to that impact, I also want to mention that if you go second and you happen to have the weapon that gives you a gauge on attack, and you can get 4 gauge, you can actually use the impact, use Leviathan, and then during that second attack phase, you can overkill during the battle phase.
Yes.
So you can
smack forward.
Yeah.
So that's also super useful.
Yeah. All right, your first pick now, Matt.
Oh boy.
I think that was Jackknife.
Yes, it was Jackknife.
My baby, my bread and my butter, my shining dragon or Jackknife. So it's another 6/6 base jack with the call cost of putting up to 1 card from your drop zone into its soul and paying a gauge, which is already pretty good. When it deals damage to the opponent, destroy a monster on your opponent's field. Very important in this meta. And the overturn during your opponent's turn, when your opponent uses a card other than effect, put a card from this card's soul into the drop zone and nullify that card. And of course, it has Soul Guard. So what I really want to mention with this card is a really popular deck right now, and that is Chaos. And this card does very, very well against Chaos. I played a couple matches against Mario last night, and what really helped out with this deck, well, first off, the overturn can nullify any card. Now, a lot of people thought that was lackluster, but if you're able to go first, it's a nullify any card. And that's the way I first saw Astro when it came out, but it doesn't matter. So anyways, if you're able to go first and you have just your Dragon or Jack, you being able to nullify that Gear God 7 really slows down the opponent's Chaos deck. Because they're not going to have a lot of gauge Excel turn 1. In most cases, they'll be left with 1 gauge. And even if they are able to have 2 gauge, if they have like an Osiris or whatnot, that's going to bang on them being able to get another Gear God. And most decks play 4 Gear God, 3 Searcher, so that's 7 targets total with a 4-card hand. Even though you do have a lot of filter, the odds of getting a second Gear God on your opening isn't very good. And another thing that
like 20-something%, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, and another thing that allows us to really smash the matchup is you have when this card deals damage to your opponent, destroy a monster on your opponent's field. So if your opponent has a full board, they have Gear God and 3 other cards, well, you're going to be attacking into that Gear God. More than likely, you'll be having the new weapon that gives you Penetrate. So first off, you're going to be penning for 2. That gets around Sunken Ruins. You're going to hit them for that effect damage. You're going to proc Jackknife's effect and pop a card. So they're going to have to use Chaos Territory to sack a card. Then they're going to have to get rid of another card due to your effect. So they go from 4 cards to 2 cards in 1 attack. And if you happen to give that Jackknife double attack at all during that turn, then that's a board wipe. Unless they're able to machining sacrifice out of it, but even then, I think that's still considered a board wipe, and you still have your weapon, possibly, and then possibly a size 1. So it really is just a really easy way to steamroll that. Plus,
I think people have missed the
so nice
combo with this card.
This is like when I saw people being underwhelmed by this Overturn, I was rolling my eyes at that, because this is the perfect usage of the Overturn design space, and it is such a powerful effect. Like being able to stop something from coming into. There's no big ace monsters in the game that are resistant against that, and you're able to, in addition, proc effects, including a new Dragon Arms that's really good, off of that Overturned cost. And for reasons that we will get into with later cards, this calling is basically free. It doesn't really have a gauge cost. Gauge costs aren't real anymore.
Up to 1 card into its soul. If you have a way to excel that soul later on, you can do that and not worry about having cards in your drop. Which is, like we'll talk about later on, might happen to you.
Yeah, it's a super incredible card. I'm really glad that we got this kind of Overturn. It's like, if we were going to have a once per game mechanic, this is the exact kind of thing that I wanted to see happen in that mechanic, and we got it. So good. It'll do a lot to keep a lot of things in check. The impacts that can't be nullified. That can be nullified. That ability to nullify it can actually be relevant now, because there's a card that can nullify impacts that is actually good enough to see play. Overall, it's a really, really good card.
All right, time to drop
and
the
SP is pretty.
That just makes this card super broken here. All right, so Shining Dragon or Jackknife is probably the most broken card in this set, and I will explain why. Star Alternate. Star Alternate is an old card that allows you to call a Neo Dragon from the soul of a monster on your field. A monster from the soul of a Neo Dragon on your field. If Shining Dragon is in the soul of another Jackknife, and your opponent plays a card you really don't want to happen, you can Star Alternate, and before your opponent's card resolves, use the Overturn. It's really
you don't even need to do that. You don't even need to do that. You just use World Linker.
Just say, I become Shining Dragoner for the turn, and then, by the way, I'm going to Overturn.
I mean, that card is amazing. True. I mean, I was using terminology from back when I was first testing the deck, when Shining Dragoner was very first released. Spoiled. Oh boy, that was so freaking dumb.
Yeah.
But
World Linker is a card that exists. It has a really good defensive ability to copy now. The field clear can be really good for it to copy sometimes too. It's really good. Shining Dragonair is super good.
All right. After that thing comes out.
All right. Next is one of my picks. This is Transcendent Dragan Hellend Heavens. This is a really big buff for Guardians and Executioners, and especially the dual attribute stuff from XP203. So it's a size 2, 8/2/3. You put the top card of your deck into its soul, pay 1 gauge, pay 1 life. When a Guardian monster attacks, you can bounce up to 1 monster on the field and deal 1 damage. And when an Executioner's monster on your field attacks, you destroy up to 1 monster on the field, and you gain 1 life, and it carries Penetrate and Soul Guard. So on a full field attack, this is going to be getting like 4 or 5 full procs of this ability, 5 burn damage, 5 health back. Well, no, actually more like, you're probably going to only get 4 heals in Guardians, particularly. Most of my testing with this has been in Guardians. And almost definitely getting a full field wipe. Even like when you're going up against something like this is really good matchup against Thora, because you just attack with all of your things, keep bouncing a Thora, and their Overturn doesn't really matter to you because you just keep bouncing all those things, and you have all that life gain to sustain their little attack damage that they're capable of pulling off each turn. Able to break through Gear God really easily, because on 1 attack you're going to bounce Gear God, have a threaten it with Hellend Heavens itself, and bounce Gear God. So that's removing a Chaos Drain target and destroying Gear God twice in a single attack.
Well, you say that, but because of the Executioners and Guardians monster timing on the attack thing, they can just Chaos Drain the card that you were going to destroy.
No, you just resolve the destruction effect first. They don't have a timing to do that.
Okay, that's what
you just resolve the Executioner's effect first, and then you do the bounce on Gear God, and they don't have a timing to do that.
Right.
Yeah, board wipes are good.
Yeah, board wipes are good. Searchable board wipes are good. Just personal recommendation. In the case of just so that you don't get screwed over by potential niche instances, don't buddy a card that has a life call cost, or you might end up finding yourself in a situation where you have 1 life and you can't call your buddy.
Yeah.
Just word to the wise.
So when you're playing Hell and Heavens, I guess, then you buddy the Dragon World one, right?
Yeah. You just buddy like any of your other things, because you can search them all anyways.
Yeah, of course. Which is why it still bothers me that Agaha runs 4 of every single copy of her monsters.
Yeah. Real good card. Real good buff to Guardians. The main weakness of Guardians coming out of this set is that their defensive spell lineup is still really, really bad. The only buff they got to that was a card that can bounce or destroy items and spells, but they're still stuck with normal nullifies outside of their glit plays. And yeah, that's not terribly good, especially in the Jackknife matchup because of J Arsenal. Ugh, that's not that is not a good time. All right, your next pick, Bren.
All right, underhand means flesh cutting needles. If you cast it from hand, it's a counter for the turn. An opponent's monster gets minus 4k and minus 1 crit. But if it's put into the drop zone from the face down soul of an Oni Assassin, an opponent's monster gets minus 10k. Oh boy. So this is I think this is a spell that's actually done, shall we say, in the style of Oni Assassins. There was spells that you could put underneath Oni Assassins like Apex of Ambush, but that didn't really do much. Sure, it hit size 1s, and maybe size 2s, but that's about it. And the other 2 either gained you life or gained you gauge. So it kind of wasn't really utilized a lot. I do like what this card does for Oni Assassins in general, because their defenses are really lacking normally. So it can just shut off an entire card from doing anything.
I'm personally not that big of a fan of this card. I'm
a fan of its like flavor, shall we say.
I don't want to sound like I'm just disagreeing with every card that Brent has chosen. I don't mean to be doing that, but I'm just... If there was not at least a crit debuff on the soul effect, I'd be more inclined to like it.
But that's the point of the card. That's the point of it. Like, you always get a different effect when you cast it than when you have it underneath soul. It's always been that way.
Oh, I know.
I feel like I'd just rather play Resters instead. But
yeah.
I don't
know. Or Shadow Stitch. I get the flavor of it, but
I think it's very cute. I think it's very cute. It's like, this is what Onis are supposed to be doing. Here you go, here's a card. I mean, it's not as good as the Resters, but this is the Oni style, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It's a cute card. I like it. It's going to be a very pretty foil.
It's a cute card. I won't play it. But it's a cute card.
I think it's an underrated card. I don't think it's going to be as played as I want it to be, but I think it is going to be played in more than 0 copies.
The big problem with it is that the big threats are typically hitting over 10k. A Thor is going to max out 11k. Well, I think it's a bit higher than 11k. No, it's 11k.
Don't forget Gear God.
Yeah, Gear God is never getting impacted by this at all, and
we don't really care about that one. We just
and the big problem, bots, when they have their penetrate set up on Corpse Leader, oof. Because your main defenses are all 1k defense cards. It's just...
The size 3s are 3 to 5k defense, so that does matter against bots.
Yeah, but because of the new size 0 that released, unless you're going into one of your overkills, you're most likely going to be keeping on that size 0 in the center for most of your defensive plays, because of how strong that Soul Guard on that size 0 body while being able to pull out all your ambush things is. But the weakness of that is, of course, that it only has 1k defense. So that soul effect doesn't impact anything unless you're not hitting one of their big hitters.
My thought on the matter is that it helps you miss less often, type thing. It's a card that will do something underneath the soul, and it's not just a card that you cast from hand. It shores up some weaknesses that Snake Ace has, such as you lose life a little too fast, and you really don't want to be in a certain specific life break. Like, I can understand.
Yeah, but I'm not. I've started testing on these over the last couple days with their new stuff, and I'm not even carrying Snake Ace anymore. I'm just running Shadow Stitch.
Well, yeah, that's what I already cut Snake Ace already since last set. So,
and like my deck space is already pretty tight, and I'm not seeing any room for a card like this.
What size is your deck?
I'm at like 61 cards right now.
Okay, I'm at 60. I did find room for it.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll agree to disagree on this.
Yeah. Well, okay, so, as we all know, I'm the one who's just going to brick when I go to a tournament with Oni, so I think he'll win out.
Yeah, I'll travel up there and play, but not during Team League. I'll wait till the real tournament. I'll fly up. All right, I might be heading off soon, so I'm just going to go through my last 3 cards, if that's cool with you guys.
All right. Let's just go through the Star Dragon World stuff in general first.
Yeah. So next up, we have my second baby, Athora. Provenance Crystal Dragon Athora Adamant. Another, thank God, 8/8 base stat Athora. Call cost is putting it on top of a size 3 Prism Dragon on your field, putting the top card of your deck into its soul, and paying 2 gauge. All cards on your field cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You cannot be dealt damage by your opponent's card effects, and damage dealt to your opponent by your card effects cannot be decreased. It has the counteract of during your opponent's turn, call this card from your hand by paying its call cost. It has built-in double attack, soul guard, and counterattack, and everything about this card is actually pretty amazing. It fixes just about all the issues I had with Prism Dragons after the Rainbow Striker set. And I'm going to start by talking about the fact that it protects all cards on your field. Now, the biggest weakness, in my opinion, after Rainbow Striker was you had the searching consistency. You can search your item, but the item could still be destroyed pretty easily. I mean, you could brush up, right? You can try to save it once. But if you just have like an Athora on your item and no brush upper, and let's say you're playing against Darkness Dragon World, they could Gale Impulse your item, call an Elgod in front of your Athora, and they could Zem 7 pop it, and it's fucking dead.
It's why I like playing Lapis Lazuli Greaves.
Yeah, but now, with the new weapon, we won't even get into that. But the fact that it protects everything also means that, well, first off, your weapon's more consistent. You can think about actually having your weapon out and bet on it, but it also protects your set spells. So Aldo Ground in Mirror Valley, which I used to hate with a passion, I am a firm believer that Mirror Valley and Aldo Ground are 2/2, post Rainbow Striker and post Climax Booster. Mirror Valley is going to help a lot, especially with the Guardian Executioner matchup, not being able to bounce your Athora. And Athora keeping those cards on there is going to be really nice. The counteract of being able to call it is really good because you have to put it on top of a Prism Dragon anyway. So there are going to be decks that run Overturn Athora as its base. And then once that Overturn is used, you can Athora on top of it. In my opinion, I don't think I'm going to be playing a deck like that. As of right now, I'm trying to work on a deck right now, and it has like 2 Rainbow, 2 Overturn Athora for this and some other stuff. But I don't think the Overturn is exactly necessary in every matchup. If anything, I would say that it's good in maybe against Gear God, obviously Swords, Narukami, but you have Gemologist to search it out, so you don't really need to be playing 4 copies. You're going to want to be on this Athora Adamant almost all the time. Another thing I want to talk about is the fact that it has built-in counterattack, which makes your huge defense and huge attack matter even more. It's going to be hurting your opponent's monsters way more than before. It's going to punish them for attacking and try to clear it. And I think that it's allowed me to make room for another card, which I've always loved, but haven't really been able to play since the Overturn cards were announced and totally got rid of, or I didn't have any space in my deck and it didn't really synergize very well. And I want to talk about Prism Interrupt, the ability to call, bounce a Prism Dragon or a size 3 during an attack on your opponent's board, either bounce one of their cards or call one from your hand. So Athora Adamant is able to get a soul from the top of your deck. So bare minimum, you're going to have 2 soul. and I'm trying to fit in some like it's probably not going to work, but like Lucius Black to gain 2 gauge because you have Mirror Valley to protect your stuff. So maybe I could Prism Interrupt into a Lucius, gain 2 gauge, and then a Threat Adamant on top of it. Some stupid shit like that. It just opens up a lot of plays with the deck. Your opponent not being able to reduce the burn also matters because everything I feel like is starting to get a burn reduce. Legend World has it with their sword, Knights have it with their shield, and in general, it's just making sure that you can secure the burn. Because that's what the Thura decks kind of want to do. They want to burn out the opponent and then impact them later on. They want to get their charge and draw off their Aldo ground. They want to burn for 2 with their shoes. They want to burn for 1 with their chartreuse. And they just want to be able to sit there and say, I'm a fucking wall, you can't kill me. And this is the card that does it. Any thoughts?
Counteract calling a whiff's attacks and any effects that can still target a Thora, so you know that's a thing. That's a whole
thing. You can respond to opponent's effects. You can, if you have like a 10k wall and they triple link and you just call that on top, they lose their attacks and then you get an additional beefy boy in that center that they can't clear. And I
just like the fact really that you can just call this on top of itself and continually call on top of itself to nullify attacks or do whatever.
Yep, and it's kind of a shield in its own way, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the next card I had on here was Star Dragoner Dimension E. It's our size 1 Neo Dragon.
Oh my god!
So it's a 4/1/1. Its effects are, if you would call a Neo Dragon from your hand, its call cost is reduced by 1 gauge. Then it has Resonance of E. When a soul is put into your Neo Dragon, draw a card. This ability only activates once per turn. So this
Why is this not a named once per turn?
So this card is going to be one of the many cards in Star Dragon World that we see that are just super upgrades of original cards. So like Star Remnant is upgraded into Dimension. So Star Remnant was a size 0 that could only be called to the left, and it reduced call cost of Neo Dragons by 1. Now this card can be called anywhere. It has that effect, and it also has that additional card effect of drawing when a soul is put into a Neo Dragon. The timing on this card is similar to Executioner Ground, where when a soul is put into the Neo Dragon for a call cost, it'll also be counted. Mm-hmm. And it also has the additional effect of being able to get you that draw if it's used for that call cost. For example, Hero Dragon or Jackknife, you'll still be able to proc that draw because it sees itself being put into the soul as call cost. And it's just a way better Star Remnant, which I have 5 foils of. So hopefully Neil Zawai comes back so I can sell them. It just does a lot. It has a built-in Soul Guard. Yeah, right. But yeah, the built-in Soul Guard can matter. You could brick pretty reasonably with any sort of Dragon Ball deck. I don't know. And then you could maybe call Dragon Arms, Cross Knives, Star Believer, something away. I don't know. But the Soul Guard situational can help. Also with the item, if that's all you have, you can shove a soul with the item and it could actually mean something. And I'm pretty sure Hero Dragon are called on top, so it could take advantage of any cards that are in the soul also. So you could beef it up and then just call a Dragon on top of it. And 4k power, it's okay. It's not bad. It's not good. That's not really the point of the card, and that's okay. Any thoughts?
It's completely dumb. I did a bunch of Jackknife testing last night, and gauge costs in your Jackknives don't exist. They're fake. They're fake news. And Hero Dragoneer becomes the freest filter to ever filter. And this isn't a named once per turn. Why is this not a named once per turn? Why is this not a named once per turn? I don't understand. You can just say, you can have one on the board and put a Hero Dragoneer on top of it and draw your 2 cards and put another one and use its effects when you put another soul in. And it's like, why is this card? It's a thing. I don't know why. It's a bit too good. But maybe Neo Dragons need it. Maybe. I'm not quite so sure.
We'll see.
They definitely need it. They're nowhere in the meta right now. And
I think they would have been fine if it had been.
The only thing that I'm sad about is the fact that they're straying away from the Aster Justice. That makes me really sad. But this is I'm
glad that they're straying away from that. I think everyone who isn't a Neo Dragon player is glad that they're straying away from that. Because I don't think
I mean, you can still side in the justices.
Oh boy.
So I don't know. Anyways, to my last card, because I really do actually have to go. Jack Arms J Arsenal. So it is a Dragon Arm size 1, 4/1/1. Its effects are: if this card is put into the soul of a card with Jackknife in its name, that card gets move and penetrate. And then it has an untranslated named ability that activates once per turn.
It's only translated.
When an attack of a card with Jackknife in its card name with this card in its soul is nullified for this turn, this card gets double attack, and of course it has cross and ice. So, no, I'm doing a YouTube thing. Shut up. Anyways. So one thing that I thought was an issue with the current Jack deck, either Astro or Aggro, is their lack of good Dragon Arms. Because if you're playing Aggro, you're going to be playing a lot of give it a crit and penetrate. You're going to play like 4 triple busters, 3 triple busters, whatever. It's just a lot of like crit gain. And then on the Astro side, you're going to be playing like Silt Fighters, and you can try to tech in some like on draws or something. But a lot of them, it's like you're playing a lot of these. I miss the ability to play really good techable Dragon Arms. Like back in the OG Astro days.
We're still not quite there yet.
We're not, because this card is a 4/0. Like, easily. Yeah. But probably a 4/0. But I'm just happy to see better Dragon Arms out. Because that's what I think. That's what I think the main issue is. Like, when Astro was first meta, I thought it was actually a lackluster card. But then all the support came, and I was like, okay, that's going to beef it up. All the Dragon Arms came, and that's how I ran my deck. I teched all these good Dragon Arms. And I was like,
the cool thing about new Dragons has always been their ability to tech a whole bunch of Dragon Arms and have these versatile effects, and that's just not there in the current Neo Dragons, unfortunately.
It is not. I can't even run Fate Info in this current deck, by the way, and I'm very sad about that. You just play too many spells. So anyways, gives your Jack move and penetrate. There are a lot of new cards that require you to have an open center, and that move is going to be very good for defense, especially since you're not playing Silt Fighter or Radiant Scudo anymore. The penetrate is also really good, especially in the current meta, because it gets around the Sunken Ruins of Chaos, which
and the
does affect damage by cards 3 or greater, then it does nothing. So you can just put it into the soul of like the base Overturned Jack, for example, and we'll be hitting for 2. And
obvious
so now
synergy with Overturned Jack's destruction effect.
Yeah, exactly. You can just trigger that because it's still damage dealt by the Jack, pop a card. And then the untranslated effect. I've only played tested it. Yeah, I've only been playing against Chaos, so that literally hasn't been used once. But in other matchups, like maybe, I don't know, Narcomi or something, or anything that nullifies attacks in general.
In some matchups, it'll come up, but in the majority of the meta matchups, not likely to come up, unfortunately.
But I see a lot of reduces out in Darkness Dragon World. They're either going to rest it or they'll just Elgato it, or not Elgato it. But reduce it, whatever card. Gunmarl, they'll Gunmarl it.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of nullify in the current meta, but with a new set coming out, new season coming out, I don't know. Good shift there. Yeah. So it has the potential to be awesome, but for now it's pretty okay. It's really that move and penetrate that really helps out the deck. Really helps you get that extra damage, that extra defense. Moving it into the center, you can Crystallization Phenomenon. You can set up those plays pretty easily, stuff like that. Good cards are good. It's a good defensive answer, and it's also a good aggression answer. It gives you a little bit of both. Good card. All right, and I gotta go. So,
all right.
Thank you guys, and I will be seeing you later.
All right, see ya.
All
right, back to our regular scheduled programming. Next, we have another one of Chang's selections, Heavy Love Night Furia. So this is basically a Tetsuya for Knights, specifically. 4/1/1, rare the field, you gain life equal to the number of items you have. And when Link attacks with anything, actually, you stand any knight on your field, and it only activates once per turn. This is fairly decent. Gives you another option when it comes to your combos with Aibo Academy for giving your items extra attacks. Because you can do combos to allow your unnullifiable item to attack like 3 times. Thanks to I think you can get it to attack 4 times because of the new size 2 El Quixote. Yeah, that restands the item too. So that's 4 attacks from the unnullifiable sword. Yeah. nullifies aren't so relevant these days, but it's nice to get 4 attacks off that sword regardless. And having that life gain there is pretty spiffy, gives you a bit more longevity. Since knights are still stuck on normie nullifies with Order Guard to help make up for that, that life gain can be really appreciated.
I'm really curious about this card's art and what the flavor text is, because this card was nicknamed Yandere Chen when it was first revealed, and I want to see if that's still true.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Next one of my picks. This has the same interesting implications, similar interesting implications that Athora Adamant does. Seeker of Strength, Dual Jaeger. So size 3, 10-5. This is the core of the new Dragon Chief Emperor support. It's really, really good.
Form, right?
Yeah, this is the new base form. Double attack, Soul Guard. Put up to 2 cards from your drop zone into its soul and pay 3 gauge. Counteract, choose a size 3 Dragon Chief Emperor from your drop zone other than this card. And you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, you call the chosen card on top of this card without paying its call cost.
That is why I'm like, this is scary.
Yeah, it's very, very scary. Like, it very similar to why I really like Overturned Asmodai. It has very good applications both offensively and defensively, allowing you to, after it attacks, go into the new triple attacker, Gaia Bust, or when you have your drop zone fully set up, go into Dynamite, or whatever you want to go into, and then you can go into another Dynamite from your hand if you need to after that. Basically, you can get 500 million attacks, and it ain't no thing. You also choose the cards that go from your drop zone into its soul. So if you go into, like, say, Overturned Dual Jaeger, like, the synergy isn't very good there, but you can guarantee that Overturned Jaeger is going to have it's going to have at least +3 crit if you go that route, plus any other monsters you put into soul with their own effects. You can use it defensively to block attacks, potentially go into, say, what's it called? Revolted. If you want to stop, like, penetrating stuff with an attack by going into something. Yes, all around, very versatile card, very strong. The exact kind of thing the deck needed. Allows it to push for damage really well, and honestly, it can even wall quite effectively, even in this current very aggro meta. It's still capable of that thanks to stuff like this.
This card scares me.
Why does it scare you?
I think you just mentioned why.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a card. It is most certainly a card. Like, this is easy, like easy 5-6 soul, while nulling an attack if you're using it defensively. So, it's certainly a card.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now it's your Searchlight.
Are you curious why I picked Searchlight?
Kinda, but not really, because, like, this, it says search for size 2 or greater ninja, but it's actually search for any ninja because Suiha exists.
Basically. And that's the thing I wanted to point out with that. It's like, so Searchlight is a ninja art spell that allows you to search for a size 2 or greater ninja and add it to your hand. Which, as Serge pointed out, you can search up Suiha and grab literally anything.
Yeah.
As long as it's a ninja, of course.
Yeah.
But what this does is finally give the ninja players that don't that play Gojin Maru but don't have Futon a way to kind of guarantee Gojin Maru going off. You get Overturn Tsukikage, and you're basically set to go with Gojin Maru without them being able to counter a single thing. Outside of the call, of course.
Yeah, basically.
You do that, all of it with your timing, effectively.
Yeah. Chang made it.
That I did.
You made it. We went through a bunch of your cards already, though.
That's
I
unfortunate.
apologize.
Just But yeah, I do like what Searchlight does because it gives ninjas more, shall we say, a wide range of abilities to use. And this is still a ninja art. It's relevant. Shinobi scrolls, all that fun stuff.
Oh yes, and once so here's a fun thing you can do once 5-year-old Buildmasters is out. You'll be able to get the you'll be able to search out the Tizukikage from there. And if you want, you could call that, get back Searchlight, and do it again next
But
turn.
you need to call Suiha first to grab the Tsukikage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, yeah. Which is super cute. Super cute.
It's pretty good. I don't think this is going to be what it takes to save ninjas.
Of course not. But I'm saying, it's great that this is a thing and it's free.
But this is going to be a great tool for them when they get better in the future.
Mm-hmm. So this is something to watch for in the days to come.
Yeah.
All right, and you just joined in time for
Drag Rumble.
Ooh, Drag Rumble. Sick.
Turbulent Fist Drag Rumble is a Thunder Empire weapon for Dragon World. It's a pay 1 gauge for a 4K2 crit weapon. When a monster on your field attacks alone for this turn, this card gets power 2K. And when this card attacks, it has 10k power or more. For this turn, it gets triple attack.
Personally, I'm not terribly impressed by this card. It gets triple attack at like 10k power, but like it's also a Dragon Mode item in Thunder Empire, so you know. I know that sounds weird to say if you're not super familiar with how Thunder Emperor Fangs works, but typically in Thunder Emperor Fangs, you want to be running non-Dragon Mode items to accelerate your...
There's 3 big problems I have with this. First off, it's a Dragon World card, like you mentioned. Secondly, this card can be destroyed, which a lot of the good items you kind of want not to be destroyed.
Yeah, if you're gonna be running a Dragon World item, you want it to be one of the can't be destroyed ones. Like,
and then 3, this doesn't have bots in the name, so you can't even use the impact with it.
Yes.
So like those are the 3 requirements to me that like it's not a Dragon World item, it can't be destroyed, and it has bots in the name. Like at least have one of those 3, but it doesn't. So to me, it's like what?
Yeah, it's pretty mediocre, but I still think it's kind of cool. Just something in Dragon World to consider. It's a very cool design.
It's a generic enough card that any Dragon World deck that gets out enough attacks should be considering it.
Like I can actually see this in Crimson, but
it's Fist. So
excellent.
This could be great for Crimsons if they can like ever get 3 attacks off in their life. They don't exactly have the most stellar multi-attack engine.
It's fine.
Well,
just run Boomerang Dragon. Everything is solved.
Well, that and the fact that all the drums have double attack, I think, right?
Crimson Drum?
Crimson Drum does not have double attack. Yes, Penetrate.
Crimson's Penetrate, right? Never mind.
Yeah. Rest in pieces.
Still, I mean, I think Crimsons could still use this.
Yeah, it's still a very good card. At worst, it's an 8,000, 8,002.
Honestly, though, as far as new Thunder Emperor Fangs weapons go, I think the biggest winner, most likely, like the card most likely to be a winner is Trishula, since that is out of world and gets 1 million attacks, and that's a pretty good card.
Mm-hmm.
Trishula?
None of us chose it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trishula's a pretty nice one.
Yeah. So next up, one of my picks, Oni Lady Princess Ujibashi. I ended up choosing this card because I honestly misjudged it a lot at first because I wasn't really taking into account well enough its own ambush.
I saw this card and thought this was one of the best cards ever, and when you said it was bad, I'm like, what are you doing, Surge?
Yeah, and then I started testing, I was like, wait, I had and one enough to confirm myself. Wait, this card is really good.
Yeah.
I might have a problem. I might have some sort of problem when it comes to misjudging the Oni Lady cards. I don't know. There seems to be a trend here.
I think it's just the Onis in general. It's not an easy deck to play, and it's not an easy.
I
still think it's the hardest deck in the format.
I don't really have a problem judging most Oni cards. It's specifically the Oni Ladies. Those are the Oni cards I tend to judge.
I mean, to me, this was super clear from the very beginning.
I still do have a problem with it in that, like, it isn't ideal. Like, it would be impossible to word this call cost the right to make it right. But like, The fact that its call cost is put into its soul when, from what I've been testing, your decks are going to revolve around a lot around the new size 0. Which the reason I didn't pick that for this podcast is because I'm going to be doing a separate video on that card specifically because I'm super excited for it. But you're going to be revolving around that a lot. So the fact that this card and also the new Overkill Buki only put soul into themselves is a bit of a downside for the cards.
You're talking about Oni Group Izumi Army, right?
Yes, that is exactly the card I'm talking about.
Okay, so no, I think Princess Ujibashi is actually really underrated in the deck, and it's a card that you really should be maxing out at 4.
Oh yeah, it's still really good. It's just worth noting that it does have that slight hiccup that doesn't give it quite the most ideal synergy with that size 0.
I don't know what you're talking about. You put the size 0 underneath this one.
Yeah, but you're not always going to have them both at the same time. And if you still have the size 0 up and you draw into this, or you have Kuriha again to this, that's the best thing to go into, or you need the gauge or whatever. A lot of scenarios where that can come up. A lot of the time it won't matter because you'll have either a Buki's Appeal or you'll have a Sneak Attack, and you'll be able to pop off that soul anyways. But it is still a slight downside of the card that is worth bringing up.
I'm just glad I don't have to always search for under the table anymore.
Yes. Well, this card being a card that exists and Ibuki's Appeal, those two in combination are what make that no longer the case. Honestly, I'm not even running under the table anymore.
I would still run one copy because reasons, but
I was running it at 2 at first, but I decided to just drop that out for the life gain card instead because through my testing, I was just never searching it out. I was never going for that Gage Excel. I never needed it.
So what makes you want Watchful Eyes? I've asked I think 5 different people.
The reason I want that card is because I was specifically testing against the Black Dragon matchup, and I was trying to find ways to get it as far away from an auto loss in game 1 as I possibly can, and having that life gain so that you can safely pop off their invitations through Execution Ground is the best way to do that.
I just main deck Chest Break.
I don't know. I'm not feeling maining Chest Break yet. Not quite there. And it also comes in handy in any matchups where you're facing down Penetrate, since you're not always going to be able to secure the ability to stop that Penetrate. So having that life gain around is pretty handy and something that I'm not really regretting because I wasn't really using that game. So anyways.
Interesting, because I've yet to find a reason to bring this into the matchup, but I guess we're testing different things, so.
But that's just my thoughts. I could be completely wrong. I've been wrong on Onis before. It wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
And it probably won't be the last.
Yeah. As long as Onis keep getting support, I'm pretty sure we'll have more moments like this where we completely disagree on cards.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, hi Secret Swords, welcome back. I've been happy to see ya. So we got another Secret Sword card, and it's for Thunder Empire for some reason. You may only cast this card at the end of the battle if your attack was nullified. Pay 2 gauge as a counter to deal 2 damage to your opponent and stand a card on your field. If this card was then cast from the Soul Secret Sword Lethal Formation, you also get 3 gauge.
I think this card is really cool. I also think it's not very good for the same reasons that we talked about with J Arsenal's Double Attack Grant. Not a whole lot of the big decks are running normal nullifies.
I think that's just like right now. I don't think you ever main deck Lethal Formation, but you can sideboard it if you really want a kind of versatile type of impact.
Yeah.
So in that case, you only need to sideboard the Secret Swords that are necessary in the matchup, and
that is fair enough. But I don't know, the matchups where that's going to be relevant are so much of the lower tier matchups that
Dungeon Knights and Guardians.
Yeah, there's Dungeon Knights. I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling this card.
It's borderline iffy in actual Secret
Like,
Sword Turbo
and-
because you're not attacking that much. Your monster count's like
and
8 to 12, so you don't even attack that much in the deck.
Oh, where?
its use. Here's my big problem with it. This is unlike cards like the Dragon Null's Secret Sword that get better over time as more dragons come out, or as the meta shifts more dragon centric, or whatever. This is a Secret Sword that's only going to get worse over time because we are more and more. The game is stepping more and more away from nullifies as your primary defense, and fewer decks are completely reliant on nullifies. And eventually, we're likely to reach a point where the majority of decks, like we're almost at that point already, where the majority of decks just aren't running nullifies and are just running other defensive methods, and that's going to make a card like this that does nothing unless an attack was nullified completely useless.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a
I
fair
get
point.
that sort of thing, but again, this is why why Secret Swords are kind of like it's like pick your poison for the matchup. You don't use them all at the same time. It's like this is
Of course.
ones where they use a ton of nullifies and you use it against them.
Of course.
Attack phase, they do it.
As I said, it's a cool card. I like it flavor wise. Just probably not the most practical card.
Mm-hmm.
And not the kind of tool that's really going to make lethal formation super again.
Agreed. However, I do like the idea of like, okay, you get a benefit from casting it from your hand, but you get a bigger benefit from casting it from lethal formation.
Yes, I
make do Secret Sword in that style.
Yes, I really want to see more Secret Swords with this sort of design. It's a good start to that sort of design, but give us one that has a more useful effect, please.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean that gives us something to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, Chang, you're up. It's your savior from bounce.
Oh, Trismegistus.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay, so Trismegistus's Alchemy is basically your primary. Chang, would you say this is primary or the item?
Most likely this, just because it's
more versatile.
More versatile blanket.
So for pay 1 life, you get to choose to either put a hero item from your drop zone into your hand, or counter, prevent your hero items on your field from being bounced to hand, which gives you the out you need against Hanako, against Rusafil, against Avalon, against basically everything that was going to bounce you, cause you to lose your entire field, and just lose as a result. This allows you to stave it off for a turn without giving you blanket permanent protection, which would have been broken. I take issue with it costing life, though. Not because like that makes it worse, because it makes it better because it costs life. Because
one life is very, very, very easy to pay for. Kind of deck, just because Dice Life gains you so much life.
It gains you 2 life basically every turn. Like it's so easy to pay off that life.
In matchups where the life cost is hard to pay, usually Trismegistus won't help you in the first place.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a pain. And the deck sometimes will choke off of 1 gauge, so that 1 gauge might actually lock you out of the play and possibly
I wish
lose you out of lethal if you wanted.
Yeah, I wish it costed gauge because it would open up scenarios where your opponent can know, okay, it's safe for me to go for this bounce play because I know they don't have gauge and they can't use out. I don't like the fact that it costs life because of that. It would still be a fine card that would help them a whole lot if it costed gauge, but it costing life means that scenario can't happen, and I'm not very fond of that.
Yeah, in a lot of matches, I just hold on to it, and then they play their null, lose however much gauge, and then just play this card, and just make them lose out on a bunch of play they would have had otherwise if they still had that gauge on the next turn.
Yeah.
My main issue with this is that it actually doesn't really do what you want it to do. The bounce plays that are really devastating are the ones where they're counter speed, and you can't stop it if you have your own effect. Like, if they use it off of a proc of Daneslave, then you really can't do much about it. Or if you do it off of the Trishula effect or anything like that. Those are the really devastating ones. And to me, this doesn't do anything against that.
It doesn't, but at the same time, you can cast it preemptively, so that's not too big of a deal if you're actually really scared of it.
I mean, if you cast it preemptively, in response, they can do that. That's what I'm saying about counters.
I mean, at the same time, you're able to set yourself up in such a way with attack patterns that their opportunities to do that are limited until much later in your attack pattern.
Yeah, if you don't, yeah, you can hold off the Trishula until the very end when the bounce won't actually lose you out of damage.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you're obviously attacking with the Daneslave early, right?
That's fair, but if you're still scared of it, you can
Do
just
you really need to? Doesn't it proc off of dealing damage too?
dealing damage, yes.
Oh, sure, I mean, yeah, but I mean, yeah, you can delay it, I guess, but of course,
you can just hold it off until like the last attack.
Right?
It's still something to keep in mind, but it still won't come up as often as you need to worry about it.
I just think that this and the sword that protects the card from being removed from play are equal in importance because of
of course. Having multiple outs to your worst enemy is something that's very important, especially with the anti-bounce sword. The sword is also searchable. Yeah. Funnily enough, Mistress Mythicus' Alchemy can search out the sword itself from drop zone if it's in there. So you can end up reusing that for whatever reason you need to.
I'd rather just grab Excalibur Replica.
Yeah. Something we haven't mentioned is put a hero item from your drop zone into hand is actually very, very handy. I've used it a couple times over the anti-bounce, and it helps in matchups where they are not carrying and bounce themselves. So something very useful. So it's not always a dead card in certain matchups. It's very, very useful.
Yeah.
I like that design.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next up we have I Will Sortie for Crew Troopers, for Satsuki. This is a really, really cool defensive and offensive card. So it's counter speed. Choose a battleship on your field and put up to one crew trooper from your field into its soul. Then call up to one crew trooper from the chosen card soul by paying its call cost.
And to give the wording, by the way, you can choose the same crew trooper that you put into soul because you choose only the battleship. You don't choose the crew trooper. So you can choose the same crew trooper to put into soul and the same one to come out. Yeah.
No name once per turn. This is the exact kind of versatile with offensive and defensive applications card that I absolutely love. Lets you call the same thing out as just said. Lets you call out something even if you don't put in. Lets you put something in if you want to protect it from being destroyed by battle. Like all kinds of applications with this card. It's really, really good.
Reuse on places, attack more. Yeah.
I think the best part about this is that it makes the other two Satsukis usable during the opponent's turn.
Yes.
It makes the Overturned and the aerial battleship Satsuki possible plays just to increase your consistency of Satsuki so that you don't miss her.
Yeah.
Also, just a question.
It makes 8 to 12 is kind of a thing.
It's a really important hole in those Satsukis to fill for them. So yeah, it's really, really good. And with the new crew troopers that they received this set with all kinds of better... I'm sorry, Chang. I'm sorry. I keep cutting you off. But all the different crew trooper effects that you have access to now, like the bounce one that just got released, the promo one that pops an item or spell, that stuff is really great.
Go ahead, Chang.
Just a note, if I'm not mistaken, you can still call something from your soul even if you don't put a crew trooper into it.
Yes, both the put in and the call out are, so you can choose to not do either of them. Honestly, if you want to just waste a card, you could just cast this and do nothing. Like if you really want to, you can just do nothing. I don't know why you would. You can't just do nothing.
You're at 9 cards. Put yourself to 10 so they can unlimited death drain you to 20.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real good. Really good card. Probably my favorite Hero World support out of the whole set. Like, probably my favorite Satsuki card in general. Like, it's such a versatile. Like, I'm just repeating myself at this point, but it's just there's so many different applications with this card. Just go out, test it for yourself, explore it with all troopers. Like, it's a card with truly limitless potential. Like, if we tried to go into all of the potential plays it has, we would be here for hours.
Yeah, and as more targets come out, it'll just slowly get better and better.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a really simple, flexible card that's fairly balanced and just very flexible and will scale over time as we get more and more crew troopers to choose from.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, Brian,
In a
it
similar
is
vein-
Tractor Beam time.
Yep, Tractor Beam is, I think, in the similar vein as that, though it's a lot more, shall we say, niche than I Will
It's
Sword.
also a lot more defensive oriented.
Yeah, but it still can be used for offense.
Yeah.
Tractor Beam is a Star Dragon World card featuring the adorable Norton. Cast cost, put a card from your hand on top of your deck as a counter to return a monster from your opponent's field to the hand and gauge one from your drop zone.
So it is a -1 to hand, but that counter bounce, completely generic, by the way, is very handy to have around. Sets up your Cosmic Dragoon checks too, so that's really good.
Also lets you guarantee what Dragon Arms you have if you have a Jackknife that you call with the top of the deck, the Soul Guard.
Yes, that is also an application.
You
I'm
also get to do that.
I'm doubtful that will actually see play in Neo Dragon variants, but
I doubt it too. I think it will.
Maybe in the sideboard.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Sideboard.
Still definitely worth keeping in mind and mentioning.
Yeah,
it's an idea. But I just like it against
concept.
Norton, and it fits really well.
Yeah, really fantastic card, and I love the Cosmic Dragoon aesthetics too. So more Cosmic Dragoon is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the only card on my original list of 5 that you did not take. So.
Okay, so now we are on to the last two, which are more Jackknife support cards in particular that I really wanted to talk about myself. First, we have Dragon Arms Diversion. I alluded to this card earlier. This is the new Dragon Arms that procs off of leaving the soul of a Neo Dragon. So 3/2/1. When it enters the field, if you have a Neo Dragon, you gain a life. Nice little bonus defensive effect for it to have around. That's not really going to be relevant all that often, but it's nice to have access to. And when it's placed into the drop zone from the soul of a Neo Dragon, if you don't have a monster in the center, you destroy a monster or spell on your opponent's field. So this is really good.
Can we please have this in Guardians?
You can proc this on your turn with full Liberate. If your opponent tries to pop your Jack ahead of time during the main phase, or when you use your Overturn, you can pop this as well. And then there's also, if you know your Jack is going to die, you have your Jack in your center, you know he's going to die. You save this for the last soul. You just let him die. Don't soul guard him the last time. This goes to drop. You don't have a monster in your center. Pop a monster or a spell. Go at it. It's a really great card. Out of the Dragon Arms that you have access to, the ones that you're going to be playing with the new deck are going to be this, the Gauge Excel one that activates when it's dropped from the soul, and J Arsenal. They're all really good. As mentioned earlier, the versatility is gone right now, but the options we have access to right now are so good, and you can't really beat.
I just want it in Guardians, honestly. It would fit the open center build so much.
And last
ability when losing soul, like, please.
Last up, we have Dragoneer Wing. Okay, so first off, this art is great. I love this art. Second off, so this is cast cost, pay 1 gauge. You put a soul from your card from your drop zone into the soul of a Neo Dragon or Thunder Empire monster, and then for the turn, that card gets power plus 3000 and double attack. While J Arsenal is a nice incidental effect, this is the way that you're going to be consistently granting double attack to your jacks, which is something that they've wanted easy access to for a long time. So this is basically just going to be replacing your Starjack repairs. At first glance, you might be like, okay, but repair gives me a gauge, and this takes a gauge. Why would I? But with Dimension E, you're saving so much gauge that you actually sometimes have problems even getting the Dragon Arms that you charged from hand into the drop zone. So you trust me, you have more than enough gauge to be spending it on this, and the fact that this isn't named once per turn either, allowing you to stack up multiple soul if you need to, all in one turn, setting up the Dragon Arms and drop zone with its own cast cost, and granting that double attack and extra power. It's really, really incredible. Really important spell for the deck to have now.
Yeah, and if you have a Dragon Arms in hand, you just put it into your gauge with charge and draw, then you that as like pay to gauge, and that sets you up for drop zone.
Exactly. It's a really, really incredible card. Kind of too good, to be honest, if I'm going to be quite honest. All right, so that is it for Driven to Disorder. Now, unfortunately, Matt had early, so I think we're going to skip on the World Finals discussion for now. Save that for next week, hopefully.
I got to hear a couple of things from the guys that I had sent there as well. So.
Oh right, yeah, some of the Vancouver. Right, yeah. All right, shoot.
But yeah, I think you're right that we want to save it because I want to ask how many people actually got disqualified for playing Athro wrong. I'm really curious.
What?
Because it was a significant number, and I don't know how many.
I didn't even know there were actually Athora players. All I knew, besides the TEF and Chaos players, was that there was one Lave player. That's all I knew.
Yeah. It was Hero World was the highest flag outside of Thunder Empire and Chaos, and then
really?
Star Dragon World was the second most. And
there was that much Hero
World?
World?
A lot of Prisms got disqualified. A lot, and I want to know how many and what happened. So, but we'll wait until that. So there's something to look forward to, guys.
Okay, that is interesting. That paints a much better image of the World Finals than what has typically been going around, with most people knowing it being that the top 8 was full of TEF and Chaos. But yeah, that's.
It was really interesting just to hear that. I'm like, really? How did they get disqualified?
What could they have been disqualified? I know how to play
Athro, and I don't own the deck.
Do you think it was mystery setting rulings?
I know a little bit, but I want to hear from the source, so I'll wait. I'll wait.
Okay. Well, save that for next week.
Yeah,
I'm going to actually see if I can get Austin to come on for next week, so that we can also have his take on World Finals. Himself.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I heard. I heard that Hero World is the most populous world, followed by Star Dragon World, and then that most of the Prism players got disqualified. And I want to just hear
Wait,
what happened about that.
That actually sounds very amusing.
Yeah,
I know. That was like, what?
I'm more interested in Hero World being the third most represented flag. Why were so many people taking Hero World?
And that's what I want to know too. And
that's
so we'll find out.
Weird.
So
that's really strange.
At the worst, my information is wrong regarding Hero World, but at the best, we get to find out why people played a ton of Mega Man or Satsuki.
Yeah. So weird. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Speaking of Hero World, Super Hero support when Garter 2.0 when.
But if with that being the case, I'm looking at the champion list right now, and he was only running 2 of the Bounce Katana card. He really lucked out if Athora got disqualified that hard.
Yeah. No, I actually have
really
a vote to pick with the second place list, but we're gonna but because I got to see most of it.
Oh, you saw the right, yeah.
I saw throughout the tournament. Not throughout the tournament, but in the finals. It's almost an exact copy of my personal Chaos deck, except he's missing key cards, and I really want to
like Talika.
Yes,
and that was so obvious in game 1. Like he had 4 cards left, almost lost the deck out, and if he just had Talika, he could just call something on top of Talika, instantly put his drop zone back into his deck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's 2 possibilities. 1, he didn't know the ruling, or 2, just like a couple of Chaos players who got double lost for playing Talikas. So we'll get there in a second. We'll talk about. I think we'll save the discussion for World Finals till next week because there's a lot to talk about.
Also, one last note on World Finals before we move on from there. I would like to remind every Vanguard player that my third place Continentals, my bronze medal, my plaque from Continentals 2015, I obtained that by beating your current champion. You're welcome. Also, I'm really happy Dan won Vanguard. That was really cool.
It was really cool just to see the whole anime.
That was a really good
versus Kai.
That was really good. It was a really good World Final.
Yeah, and Vanguard were definitely much better than last year, and Weiss was probably the highest level of play we've seen from a World Finals in the last 2-3 years. So
yeah,
I'm just really upset I wasn't able to watch.
My only issue with World Finals is that one, I wish I wish they had set things up so that we could see more buddy fight, but that's my personal bias. And two, I think the commentary for the buddy fight finals was a bit lackluster because, like, I don't like how the commentary gave the impression that it was that what won those last two games was necessarily bots coming down as much as it was the field clear from Roaring Blast and Chaos' lack of out of hand.
I would like to point out that they had a specific caster for Vanguard, but then they swapped out for a Bushiroad employee for the other 3 games. It would have been helpful if, I guess, for World Finals, again, we'll get on that subject next week, but if there was a commentator that was good at those games and could actually talk about them, I'm very sure that any one of our members in Vancouver could talk about Luck and Logic more than they did. I'm very sure that you would have had lots to say about the buddy fight.
Oh yes. I was actually gonna say just about to bring that up because out of everyone in the buddy fight English community, I'm pretty sure I've done the most commentary stuff. I think I still need a lot more practice before I feel comfortable doing World Finals, but I do plan on getting a lot more practice this year. I want to do a lot of that sort of content. So, Bushiroad, if you want.
And I'm
Bushiroad God, listen to us.
If I don't make it there myself, because obviously Weiss is my main game. So I've done commentary before. It's just not on the internet right now.
All right. So we have a couple other things to talk about. Obstruct is finally coming to English as the February shop promo. For those who are unaware, Obstruct is a card that was in the promo pack around when XPTO1 released. That me and Mario were particularly really excited for at that time. And what it does is you cast it during your opponent's turn, you pay 1 life, and for that turn and the next turn, neither player can draw cards by card effect.
The classic play this when they're about to use Divine Dragon Creation.
Basically. I think at this stage, though, I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact, especially because of cards like Daryl Burke and
a lot of hand plus is more just look at top 3 add to hand rather than draw.
There's still a lot of draw power, so I could see it having some impact, but also there are a lot less decks that can survive on not having that draw power themselves. So
this screws over Blue Sky Knights. I'm very upset.
Well, they already died. They died from the erratas.
It's fine. You can still play 3 bounce cards per turn. Press out for Blue Sky Knights. Truly.
Yeah. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Obstruct?
What are my thoughts on Obstruct? It's a generic card. Welcome. I am kind of like the same level of generic nerd as SaiScott is, except I don't like foils.
Okay.
So please welcome all the generic cards.
Also, while we're on this note, Bushiroad, why was Gate of Darkness Dragon the promo for January? Why did you do that? Why did you waste that slot?
It's not that it was wasted. It's that the card that was supposed to be there ended up going to the printers wrong.
Oh, really?
That's
It was a
all I
printing
know.
error?
That's all I know.
Oh, man. Oof. I wonder if it was Whirlwind.
I wonder too, actually. I really wonder.
Oops.
Oops.
Sorry, guys. We meant to give you Bushroad. Sorry, guys. We meant to give you Whirlwind every month, but we keep having these printing issues. I don't know what's going on. I think someone at the printer is trying to sabotage us.
We forgot to send a transcript to print Whirlwind. We keep putting it off.
Yeah. 10 months ago. And we don't want to make ninjas too good, so we can't print it now. And ninjas won't be good enough with it, so we won't print it to end the cycle.
I'm still waiting for Shiny Asmodai since I requested it in my Bushiroad interview.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever getting that card.
Why?
It's too late. It's too late.
I want Shiny Asmodai. I get to still play Asmodai memes. Please get back, Ushi.
Alright, now we also have, so regarding Driven to Disorder, in addition to the 4 normal secret packs, there's also 8 additional secrets. So some of the triple rares, so this is really weird. Okay, so there are 18 triple rares in the sets combined, but in Driven to Disorder, there are only 12 triple rares. But there are also,
So there are 6 triple Rs that
Yes.
are missing, effectively.
But there are 8 additional secrets. I don't know what's going on.
I think what's going to end up happening then is that the secrets are going to be similar to the one from the 100 yen boosters, where there's 3 actual in the secret, and then they added 2 more cards in to make it a 5.
But here's the thing, though. There's 8 additional secrets. That's 4 secrets per pack. That's the problem here. That's the thunker. I have no clue what's going on here. We already know that Dray Golem and Asmonite are 2 of the cards that have been converted from triple rare to secret.
Actually, you know what? Maybe Futon's actually part of this in a Katana World pack.
Oh, that would be really interesting. You can finally have Futon, but only as a secret.
Because we don't really want to reveal it, so let's just keep it secret.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You can have 2 secret packs.
Fake out, if that's how Fake Out and Futon are the 2 secrets. That's what's gonna happen.
Fake Out the Magic World promo, right?
Yeah. The one that they really, really need. That would be interesting if that's what happens. But like, even with that being the case, like there's still this weird instance of, there's still this empty slot in the 5-card secret pack. So I have no clue what's going on.
Well, yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
again, that's
It's
just
weird.
to point out that, hey, there's something that could happen because there's a lot of different promos that we don't have.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see what happens. And then,
We need
of
more time.
course, the big news, we have the announcement of X2. X2 is the tentative name for the season. X2 BTO1, which 2 big changes coming through with this set. First, so since from the beginning of the game, sets have had from 99 to, I believe the highest was 122 with XBTO1. That has been the range of sizes, excluding secrets and vanity rarities, for every set since the beginning of the game. It's always been that somewhere around the 105 card range. And now, with this first set of the new season, we are dropping all the way down to 75 cards, which is especially strange when you combine that with the fact that this set is going to have all worlds, a main set that features every world. I'm excited, but I'm also very nervous because of the reduced set size.
Yeah, it can mean they might be going for more of a quality over quantity, but at the same time, if we get one bad card, that's 1 out of the 75.
Yeah. We were doing a bunch of theorizing over in the Pojo Discord earlier today that could be because of some printing sheets. stuff. But really, we won't know. But I'm excited. I'm excited for what's coming. This is a good way to the all world announcement is a good way to get me excited for season 5.
I think it's
Of course, your personal reservation is the fact that it's a smaller set size.
Yes, the smaller set size has me really nervous. Because I'm scared of situations like what happened with Hero World in this climax set, where they have like Hero World has like 10 archetypes, probably more, and Hero World didn't receive any generic support. It was all locked to the Satsuki deck.
yeah.
So that sort of thing happening has me a bit worried with the lower set size. If we were still at the usual set size, then I would not be concerned about this at all. We'd have a lot of extra room to play with, and it'd be fun. It would be fine. But yeah, I'm a bit concerned about that. But overall, this is assuming this carries through to all booster sets going forward, which is very likely. Like, I imagine what the plan is probably like all the main sets will have support for every world, and the side content will feature focused support for specific worlds, or like in the case of special series for specific decks.
Yeah, that could work out pretty well.
If that's the case, it's going. If this is the case, then this is going to result in a way healthier game with support being spread much better, and it's going to really show off the benefits of Buddy Fight sticking to 10 worlds instead of going to 20 plus like Vanguard did.
25 worlds or clans.
I think it's like 26.
Oh,
Might be 20.
Yeah, no, it's 27 now because of Mass Collection.
Yeah, 27 because of Mass Collection. Yeah. Which is to say, I have very little this sort of thing would ever happen with Vanguard. There's just too many clans. They'd have to up the set size a lot in Vanguard to make this sort of thing happen.
Also, just how Vanguard works, you can't really get away with changing a deck every single set because that's just a pain. Because of just how locked the deck.
Buddy Fight is the same though, so like I don't really buy into that. Like the same sort of change is going to be happening. Buddy Fight, it's going to be a big change for people to have support for their world coming in every main set.
Just how the Vanguard deck building is, because you'd be getting like different size grade 1s and grade 2s. Grade 3s would be really hard to creep out just because of how quality they've been recently.
Yeah. The problem I think with Vanguard doing this sort of thing is that in Vanguard, deck needs a higher quantity of good cards to get a significant improvement than you do in Buddy Fight.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like in Buddy Fight, with the right cards, you can boost the deck very significantly with just a couple cards. But in Vanguard, because of the deck building restrictions and everything, and how many archetypes are super phobic, you can't really do that in Vanguard. It's a lot harder to pull it off.
That, and also Vanguard's design space isn't exactly expansive, so releasing so many new cards that so quickly just ends up getting you crap or just stuff you probably won't use over old stuff unless it gets creeped.
Regardless, I think that's going to be it for this week. Any final words for me to review?
No.
And with that, we'll see you guys next week.